All right, so
Good man.
Ryder, how
the
are you?
rider.
How long have you been here?
I've been listening in for some time.
Oh man, it's been intense. How long?
Just 5 minutes. Good man. Just wanted to come in and have a little listen.
Good man.
I loved watching that podcast. I guess it's tempting to think we've never had a D&D game that's gone that smoothly, but I guess I have to remember it was edited.
Yeah, all
Yeah.
fact checking we're cut out. Much
Yeah,
like this conversation will be cut out likely.
That's
Figuring shit
that's
out.
pretty beast though, eh?
It'd make a pretty good humorous intro. That would be the good man rider.
Well, I'm gonna go pour myself a little whisks and continue on. I'm looking forward to listening to this, boys.
The Lord of House Highmount, Alden Highmount, has taken off for a journey just over in the Riverlands. In the meantime, he's left as steward, Glennshire Heavypockets in charge, with a maester to serve him. It's a rainy day in the Vale, and Glennshire Heavypockets is approached by a young messenger. He hands over a small note.
Thank you, sir. And I'll give him a copper for his trouble.
Thank you, my lord. He runs off.
I will open the note.
The note's hastily scrawled on parchment, slightly smeared. The note reads, Master Heavypockets, I must request your presence at the tavern. It is a matter of the utmost urgency. And it's signed Barth.
I will crumple up the note in my hand and shove it into one of my many pockets. Well, I suppose I will be having to go down to the tavern again with my acquaintance Tom Stone. Probably go seek him out.
You find Tom out back from the kettles. He's freshly chopped down a hickory tree, and he's working it to turn into a new bow stave.
I will exaggeratedly be stepping through the piles of filth that I'm sure are in and around the kennels, not hiding my disdain for the state of affairs here. Tom Stone,
Well met, Glennshire. What do I owe the pleasure?
saddle up your horse. We are headed down to the tavern immediately.
Oh, did that barkeep send word this time?
Indeed he did. Looks like that there's some troubles afoot.
Well, at least he's learned his lesson.
Most definitely. And I'll see to it that you are well paid in your fare of women.
Uneventfully, then, you make your way down to Barth's. It takes you about 20 minutes journey at a slow trot. Approaching the exterior of the tavern, it appears that the tavern is closed. The shutters are drawn, but a barely visible flicker seems to indicate that there is fire burning in the hearth.
I'll walk over to one of the shutters, and as long as it's not locked, I'll try to creak it open and take a peer inside.
Alright, yeah, it's not locked. You manage to open it, and you can see inside the room.
Well, that's not Earth fire.
The fire is contained to the center of the room. It looks like it was set fairly recently. It has yet to spread, although it has the potential to take the whole building down.
Alright, so without even telling Glennshire what's up, I'll just try to kick down the door.
It gives way with no resistance.
Alright, so I bust through, and it still seems just like the one table?
Yes.
Alright, I'll hop behind the counter, and amongst all the barrels of booze and whatnot, that probably wouldn't help the fire. Does it seem like there's a barrel of water?
There is no water visible nearby, however, there is a full cask of ale.
Beer would put a fire out.
Yes, it would.
Alright, so I'll try to take that towards the fire.
Roll a athletics test with strength. You just can't get a hold of it, you can't lift it.
Glenn, help me!
I will simply look at the cask for a moment. Not sure I'm going to be of much help, Tom. Perhaps you should try again.
As time passes and the table burns more. That's a little better.
Yeah, you managed to lift it with that.
Alright, so I kind of bring it over to the fire, and I get it sort of as close to on the fire as I can.
Nearing the fire, you notice the distinct smell of burning flesh and can clearly make out that there is a body in the center of the fire.
Well, that happens. And then I'll just take out my bastard sword and swing to bust the cask.
You're using your sword, eh?
Yeah, I'm trying to
Yeah, okay.
bust the cask in half.
Yeah, so
Bastard sword.
roll a fighting test. Alright, so yeah, you thwack it open with your sword and the beer spills all over the table, quickly extinguishing the flames.
Well, at least we were here on time.
And does the body seem to be the fat one-armed owner, or a whore, or who?
You can tell by the one arm as well as all the rendered fat on the floor that the body could be none other than Barth himself.
I will walk by and take a look at the body that I'm sure I take notice of now, and continue back to the back room.
All right, I'll look around this room and behind the counter, and sort of like a forensic detective, I'm looking for signs of how the battle went down, how many people were fighting, and if there's any clues.
So roll awareness. Yes, you can tell. It appeared to be somewhat of a struggle. He put up a fight for a fat old guy. His hand, I should mention, is pinned to the table with a knife.
Oh, shit.
But it's just merely one of his steak knives. There's nothing particularly noteworthy about it. Searching the room, though, you do discover, kicked off into the corner, a bloody knife.
Interesting. Is there anything unique about the blade? Does it seem to have been burned at all, or is there blood on it?
It's nothing special. It's there is blood on it. Appears to be used in a struggle. There is a seashell in the hilt of the blade.
A seashell, mark of some house of pike, no doubt. Or how my blade has missed the taste of iron-born blood.
I'm gonna look through the back rooms.
Yeah, venturing to the back rooms, nothing is out of the ordinary. The hallway is nondescript. One door is ajar. As you push it open, the following sight greets you. You enter the room to the sight of the 3 prostitutes dead. Blood covers the floor and soaks the sheets.
What's the source of their wounds?
Roll an awareness test. So yeah, cause of death revealed. One whore's eyes bulged from her head. Telltale bruises around her ebony throat indicate she was most likely strangled. The other 2 corpses are bound to the bed with cloth. Their wrists are chafed from where they struggled. The one appears to have been clubbed to death. Her nose is broken, face bruised and beaten, and her arm is crudely dislocated. The final whore, also bound to the bed, is arguably worse. One of her eyes hangs from its socket, crudely gouged out. She too has been brutally beaten, but gruesomely her jaw has been cut, brutal slits in her cheeks, and a jaw hangs loosely.
Were they raped?
A knowledge test? Yeah, you can tell by looking that they have been had their way with.
By the 7, what monster has done this?
Well, Tom, it looks like we're dealing with a savage brute, or many savage brutes.
About as savage as I've seen, and I've seen a lot. It takes a true evil to do such a thing to a woman. They were no fair maids for sure, but all kind girls, undeserving of such horrors.
But why would somebody come to a whorehouse, kill the proprietor, rape and kill the women? There must be some other ulterior motive here.
I hate to think, but it could be related to how we acquired those women. We burned the bodies of those sellswords, but someone could have visited the inn, recognized the girls. Found this knife in the other room that has a seashell on the hilt. My guess a seashell would be the seal for some ironborn house.
I will examine the knife and use a education check to see if I know anything in particular about this knife, the markings, etc. That's a 9. I have 1 bonus dice.
You can't think of any house that would have that symbol associated with it. I should also mention, in the room where the horrors were, there was a neatly stacked pile of gold on the bedside table. Whoever this person was, he was not so savage as to not pay the horrors.
That actually is a very interesting thing. I'll look over the gold. Neatly stacked.
Neatly stacked. It was certainly placed there deliberately. It wasn't casually thrown.
How much gold?
4 gold.
I will take the gold. The gold, it's just classic dragons.
Nothing special about it, just your typical gold dragon.
Well, if it is something to do with these particular whores and the sellswords, they're using the common coin of Westeros. But that doesn't necessarily mean they're not from across the Narrow Sea. The real question is, what is somebody from Pike doing here?
And taking salt wives is more their style than dealing slaves. Slaving is still illegal in Westeros. I doubt even an ironborn would be so bold.
Certainly, and this stack of coins does lead me to believe that this individual does have some degree of honor, but that's rather unlikely. Somebody coming from the Broken Isle.
Do we have time to bury them?
I think not. Whoever set that fire was here quite recently. I think we should set out, and you should definitely try and get on the trail immediately. We'll leave this task to the common folk.
Tom nods, although he looks uncharacteristically distraught at the sight of dead women.
I'll just stroll away from them, taking a swig of my bottle.
As Glennshire would.
Tom waits for a second before he completely goes out of the room, and then he goes back to the horse. And whatever horse seems to be kind of handled the most, he sort of cuts off a piece of their clothing.
How delightfully eccentric.
It's not for posterity.
for Tom's shrine.
Trust the Lord. He did have an order with them.
Yeah.
Alright, so before he tries to see if Howler can lend a hand, I'll do an awareness to see if there are any obvious tracks.
There are various tracks leading various directions, some from you, some from other people, and some from farmers passing by.
Anything leading towards the woods or the mine or an area that isn't towards the farmsteads?
Nothing discernible.
Alright, I take the rag of horror clothing over and let Howler, my dog, smell it, and Howler can do an awareness.
Howler smells it, starts barking, runs into the
Yeah,
brothel,
I know,
starts chewing
but
on
not
the floor.
more than I could actually have it discern that by if it tried to go inside, I could kind of say no or whatever, and then
Now
it
keep in
would go
mind-
for a different spell.
If Howler can't tell the tracks, which I think it is a fairly long shot, we should most certainly be canvassing the town for information.
He wants to go back into the whorehouse, so he can't pick any other smell up apart from
Alright,
the
I'll-
slaughtered whore.
Alright, so how many sets of tracks did you say? There were 3 different ones? Maybe we can start canvassing the town in the direction of one of them.
One set of tracks does pass fairly close to a farmhouse.
Well, it's close by. They might have seen something at least. It's a good place to start as any.
All right, we'll go to the front of the door, and standing out front in a very loud voice, I will demand that they open up in the service of House Highmount.
An old farmer opens the door, peering out cautiously, and he says, "My lords, how could I help you?"
All right, I will step into the threshold using my bulk to push them in and opening the door widely as I do. I'll take a
Key.
quick peek around the house just to see very quickly if there's anything amiss, like a sellsword with a crossbow.
So it's average, it's nondescript. There's a small fire burning where he's got his supper in a pot, the bed off to the side. It's very, very average.
Do you know who I am?
Yes, of course, sir. You're from the castle.
Indeed, and we have had an altercation at the local brothel. Have you seen or heard anything amiss?
I'm afraid I haven't, sir. I was tending to my supper the past while.
I will roll an empathy to see if he sounds overly nervous, if perhaps he's hiding something.
Yeah, sure thing.
It's a 10.
Yeah, you can tell he's seen more than he seems to be leading on.
Tending your supper, you say, and I will look back at Tom and give you a nod.
Alright, I'll step out and take out a knife and just look disapprovingly.
If you know who I am and you know that I serve the house, you know that I can bring many resources down upon you if you are withholding information. It would be certainly in your best interest to comply with my request. Did you see anything amiss this evening?
I did. I'm sorry, sir. I'm sorry. I was just afraid. He then goes on to tell you that he saw Barth send a young lad from the village off with a note, and shortly thereafterwards he saw a fearsome-looking man in dull white armor enter. A short while later, he says the man in the armor left, heading off towards the forest, down the road, shortly before you arrived.
I'll look to Tom. Tom, what do you make of that? Barth sent the messenger well before the man entered the bar. You must have known it was coming.
How would he have known?
Certainly. Anything else, old man?
That's everything, sir. I'm sorry. That's all I saw.
All right, I will give the old man a silver stag.
He takes it appreciatively and apologizes again for his deception.
See to it that you serve House Highmount more promptly and without hesitation. And without waiting for a response, I will exit.
So you carry on down the road for a while, slowly but surely leaving the hamlet and the castle behind you. Travel down about half an hour without catching up to whoever you appear to be chasing. Coming through the woods, you approach a small farmstead. There is a stable as well as an inn. You can see from the sign that it is the Earthen Candle.
Do I know of it?
You know of it, yeah. It's this one place on the road. It's been known to open its doors to weary travelers. And
Under Highmount patronage?
it could be considered under the protection of House Highmount, yes. Certainly loyal to the Vale.
Always a good day when the steward of House Highmount can meet local proprietors. I will rub my hands together greedily. Perhaps we should investigate the stables first. You should go from here with stealth, Tom.
Alright, so I'll hand motion for Howler to stay quiet and behind me. Is it just one big or 2 big barn doors on the stables, or is there a smaller door that can be opened
One
more quietly?
big sliding barn door.
I'll try to quietly slide the barn door.
So roll stealth. Yeah, I mean, so you managed to get it open undetected.
Alright, cool. And I'll peer in, and what do I see?
Nothing particularly noteworthy. There's a bunch of hay. It seems to be bereft of horses and cows.
Yeah, so I kind of shake my head that there's nothing about the barn, and I kind of point at the house with like a questionable look on my face to see should we approach the house at the inn.
I will nod and begin making my way slowly to the front door.
I'll motion for him to move to the side. That I guess I should be breaching this door first.
I will just open the door and walk in.
Oh, all right.
It is an establishment after all.
You walk into the inn, and it's typical. There's fire going. There's a young serving girl on the attractive side of plain, walking around with dishes. Behind the bar is the proprietor of the establishment, an elderly man, as well as his wife walking about.
All right. I throw an antler chew down to Howler to keep her distracted, kind of outside the door, and I'll enter without any weapons drawn.
And I will walk up to the bar and take a seat.
Anything I can get you, sir?
Yes, a glass of your finest whiskey and one for my companion.
Certainly, sir. He reaches to the back and fetches a bottle from a high shelf and pours each into a clean glass.
So I will take the glass and have a sip.
Yeah, I'll pick up my glass, and I'm gonna go over to the wench girl.
If it was, say, 2 silver stags, I will slide 10 across the table, lean in towards the barkeep as though I wish to speak to him hushedly.
He leans in and pockets the silver.
I'm looking for some information on your current clientele. You tell me who is here at the moment?
Well, only person here at the moment's a young lad over there. Showed up this evening looking for a room. We happily provided it. He paid adequately.
I'll glance back at the young man. What does he look like?
Roll awareness with empathy. 14. He doesn't seem to be panicked or anything. Appears to be casually sitting, nursing a mug of beer. He's well-built, athletic, dressed in casual clothing. Nothing really noteworthy, just traveler's clothes.
Did the young lad, did he go up to his room before he sat for the drink?
Of course he did, sir. He had some items with him. His traveler's pack. He wanted to get settled before he had a bite to eat.
Of course. And what was he wearing when he entered?
Precisely what he's wearing there, sir. I believe he had an overcoat, but...
No metallic clinking of armor?
Oh, no, sir. No. I surely would have noticed if he did.
How many rooms do you have upstairs?
3, sir. There's 2 for guests and 1 for us, my wife and the girl. We could rent you one if you'd like. 'Twould be 5 silver a night. But for you, we could put it down to 1.
So you are aware of who I am?
Oh, you've paid me quite well already, sir. That's all I know.
Well, it is your pleasure and honor to meet me, the steward of House Highmount, Glennshire Heavypockets.
Of course, your lord. It is an honor indeed. What brings you so far out?
Investigating the property and the business. I would like to be sure that you are treating the guests of Highmount territory well.
Of course, sir. I always do. Guests of Highmount territory and anyone else who happens to pass through.
Excellent. Now that you know my name, what is yours?
Osney Taverner, sir. Been running this place for many moons since before the time of King Robert.
Certainly, Osney. It is a pleasure to make your acquaintance. If any suspicious travelers should come through, I would hope that you would send word to me immediately.
Of course, sir. We try not to admit to anyone rather suspicious looking. I find that in our old age we can't handle the trouble.
Of course, good Osney, but one must take coin when it comes.
Yes, but not coin that brings grievous troubles down the road. Better to be poor for an evening.
Certainly, but I would hope that you would see to it that if you do have any grievous troubles on these grounds, you would send word to House Highmount, specifically myself, immediately.
Of course, sir.
Right, I will nod and finish my drink and turn back to look on at Tom.
All right. So meanwhile, I've kind of drink in hand stumbled over to this tavern girl, and I say something along the lines of,
Ma, you are a pretty thing. I bet the travelers are hassling you all the time.
She blushes and says, no, they do not, although she would like for one of them to take her away someday.
"Oh, well, maybe I could arrange that sometime." And then I inquire if she's been hit on by anyone from the Iron Islands.
No, my lord, of course, don't know of any Iron Islanders, don't know that I'd know one if I saw one.
I hesitate for a moment. She's hot. And then I walk back over to Glennshire.
She's not hot, she's as I said, the attractive side of plain, but
Well,
hot-ish.
that's hot enough. That's hot enough for a marked man.
Did you hear anything interesting?
She doesn't seem to know much. You want to question that boy?
Indeed, there's no information to be had from this taverner. What's he drinking?
Just holding a mug of ale.
Alright, I will order a round of ale, one for myself and Tom, and one for this gentleman. And I will motion for Osney to have the ale sent over to the young man.
He nods at you and raises his glass.
I will gesture for him to approach the bar.
He comes up with his empty mug and his fresh mug in hand. He slides the empty one on the table over to Osney and thanks him, and takes a swig of the fresh one.
Oh, good sir. I take pride in knowing the people of these lands, but I have never seen you before. What might be your name?
My name, sir? Well, it's Arthur Estamont.
Oh, shit.
Just passing through, I'm afraid, sir. What brings yourselves here? And I'm not familiar with you. May I ask your names as well?
Tom says Tom Stone and rolls deception.
Yep, no. He says, pleased to meet you, Tom Stone.
Glennshire Heavypockets, steward of this land.
Oh, well, it's an honor, sir. It's quite nice land you've got here. It's a lovely little inn I seem to have found myself in.
And why do you find yourself in these lands?
Oh, passing through for work. I'm traveling on my way down towards Riverland. I was up around the Fingers, came in on a fishing ship, and that work's finished, so now I find myself slowly working my way south.
A sellsword, then? Laborer? What's your trade?
Sellsword, laborer. I take no specific title. I do what work is offered me.
Interesting that a man of the noble house Estermount finds himself as a hedge knight. Troubles back home?
No, not so noble, sir. I'm merely a minor cousin of Estamount. I can't claim any high birth.
I talked to Osney and asked if I can have a room.
Osney says, I'd be happy to lend one out to you, sir, of course. As I said to your friend, for you it would be 1 silver per night.
Well, my friend's good for it.
I will lean in with a hushed tone. There is a distinct possibility of an altercation to take place in this tavern, and I would most certainly look to employ you, Arthur Estermount, in the service of House Highmount.
Oh, I suppose works, sir. I'd appreciate it, but an altercation in a place like this?
We cannot be certain. My companion and I, Tom Stone, are looking for a man from Pike.
A man from Pike, you say? And what would they do find themselves way out here?
That's the precise question that we are asking ourselves right now. However, he has gotten himself into a fair bit of trouble in the small hamlet not so far from here.
That's so. What's this man done, if you don't mind my asking, that the steward of House Highmount himself would come after him?
He is a raper, a murderer, and he has certainly cost House Highmount a significant amount of coin.
Well, then I certainly hope you catch him, and I'd be glad to help you do so.
I will roll an empathy check to see kind of his ethos. Does this look like a murderer and raper himself, or a man who upholds the scripture of the seven more so?
So you don't make much out. He's clearly hardened, like he's, been in a couple fights. He's got calloused hands from the looks of it, but it doesn't seem to be a dishonest person to you.
Excellent. Well, Arthur, I'm not calling you into service immediately. However, I would request that if you're planning on staying here for the evening, nurse your ale, and if I should call you, you will be paid well for your service.
Of course, sir. Shall we share a drink? I have some fine brandy on hand. He motions towards where he was sitting, where there appears to be a corked bottle on the floor by his chair.
I will lick my lips, knowing that we should certainly press on to find this man before he gets away, but I will roll a will test to see if I can resist the drink.
Yeah, so I guess I'll do an awareness. If the doors, I'll check all the rooms really, whether they're locked or not.
The one room is empty. It appears to be the room that he just sold you. The other room is well lived in. From appearances, would be the room that he, his wife, and the serving girl share. And then the third room you enter, you can tell from the looks of it that it must be Arthur's. There's a pack on the floor. There's some dirty clothes laid out on the bed. His overcoat appears to be there.
I'll actually check his pack while he's drinking.
Okay. Nothing noteworthy. There's some silver. There's a flint and tinder, a loaf of bread.
Is it bloody dirty clothing, like someone that has raped someone, or is it just muddy and stuff?
You notice a tiny speck of blood on it towards the cuff. Nothing crazy.
Well, everyone kind of deals with blood in Westeros.
Get the black light out for semen stains. I rolled a 14 on will.
Yeah, so you managed to resist the drink.
Excellent. I certainly must get back to work, although once this mission is complete, I will join you at the table. But I do request that you not drink too much should you be called into the service of House Highmount.
Of course not, sir.
I will nod, and I will follow Tom towards the stairs. And I am wheezing.
Alright, I motion that it's unnecessary to walk up the stairs. I'm going to shake my head.
I will stop with a visible look of relief on my face.
Arthur beckons the two of you over to the table. My lords, would you care to share a drink?
Licking my lips again after the strenuous task of 4 steps up the stairs, I'll roll another will.
You're on the job today.
I will clear my throat. No, Arthur, not yet, not yet.
So did the tracks, to refresh my memory, lead right up to the door, or just this general area?
To this general area.
So maybe he was in the stables, or maybe he's just somewhere in the woods nearby. He wouldn't be hiding well to be near an establishment, so he would want to be here for a reason, or else why not just stay in the middle of the fucking woods?
We should give a more thorough examination of the stable.
My lords, you been needing any help?
Not quite yet, Arthur. You may stay here. I don't want to trouble you for the night. You're not quite needed at this moment, but I will bellow for you, I'm sure.
He nods.
Alright, I whistle for Howler still sniffing about, and I'll go back to these stables. And this time, I might as well go in. I'll try to stealth it open for a second time. Yeah, and I'll hand motion for Howler to kind of stick behind me. Since it's close quarters, instead of pulling out my bow, I'll pull out just my offhanded dagger, and I'll just start slowly walking down, kind of looking side to side in each stall.
You roll awareness, you see hay, and hay.
Well, I'll go over to the hay in the top, and I'll stab my sword in. Might as well be thorough.
Yeah, you stab a bunch of hay.
Alright, to speed things up, I say that I'm starting to doubt that there is actually a person here now, but maybe someone was in the stables before, so I'll go ahead and I stab my sword into the hay in every stall, up, down, to the last one. So I stab nothing by the time I get to the end.
You stab nothing.
Tom, I think it's quite clear that nobody is here right now, and I feel like we have come to the wrong place. As I say that, I will gesture out towards the bushes where I saw what I saw. I will make a sign with my hands like eyes and use my 2 fingers to simulate running feet.
I'll sheath my sword, switch it out for my bow and arrow notched, but even though I have that out with like a casual kind of demeanor, and I'll
just casually taking the
well,
bow
I'll do
out.
it. I do the switching of it and taking the bow behind the door. Let's say so so the switch isn't noticeable if anyone's looking. And yeah, and I start to walk kind of down the road. And on the road, I'll, out of the corner of my eye, look at the bushes to see if anyone's in there.
You're aware of Arthur Estermont.
I don't even know what to do about that. I just kind of shrug. Probably looking at us. I pull the arrow back and point in his direction, and I just say, "Come out!"
He immediately sort of comes out and, I'm sorry. You would have had to pay me if I helped you without you asking, wouldn't you?
Certainly, I am a man of honor. However, there was a specific reason why I told you not to come out here. Is there something you're not telling us, Arthur?
What would I not be telling you, sir? No, I've told you everything. You realize he seems to kind of be hiding something.
I'm still pointing the arrow at him to intimidate him.
I will gesture to Tom to step in. Arthur, you realize that I'm dealing with a man here who is quick to act, and it would be in your best interest to speak everything before he becomes too unruly for me to control.
Or before my hand holding this arrow gets tired.
I don't know what you're talking about. I know nothing.
Ooh, are we entering an actual intrigue?
We could.
Yeah, I will engage him in an intrigue, so I just need to pull up all this info. Yes, so my objective is information, and I'll set my my disposition to indifferent.
My objective is just to intimidate him. I know that's also a technique, but if I want anything out of it at all, it would be for Arthur to, after the intrigue, have a respectful fear of me. And my disposition for him will be...
Maybe we can pop over private chat right now if you want to talk about that quickly.
Tom moved to private.
I'd be very apprehensive towards him because we've probably met at some point.
You know what? Do a semi-private roll to GM on game table.
So cunning or what?
Cunning or knowledge, whichever you... Yeah, do knowledge, actually. Oh yeah, 10. You are not familiar with any Arthur Estermont in your activities with the house. Like, you aren't familiar with ever encountering him or even being necessarily aware of him. You certainly have never met before.
Yeah, so trusting at this point, because probably successfully deceived me that he actually is an Estermont or who he says, then I actually am amiable.
Okay, sure. Alright, we'll jump back to the server now.
I don't even have to say it.
GM knows. Alright, so we're gonna do initiative then. Bonus dice from reputation apply. You're still private, yeah. It's, I'll read it, yeah, you got a 17.
14. You got a 17 on your status?
I got near perfect.
Jesus.
Tom, you go first, and then Glennshire.
I'm intimidating him with my bow drawn and the arrow, and I'm going to assist my friend. So
You better tell my friend Glenn here what he wants to know.
And I do a persuasion, and then half my points go to Glenn's thing, right?
So roll a persuasion test.
11.
Okay, so you succeed. So Glenn, you get a +1 modifier then.
Okay, so my technique will be convince, but I am going to use the ability read target, and then I get to learn his disposition and the technique that he's using. Arthur, I know that you're in this for the gold, but you can certainly see that I am willing to pay out. But I'm wondering if there is any further ulterior motive. So 16 against passive deception.
Oh.
Yeah, so you beat him on that. So you know his disposition is indifferent, and the
Okay.
technique he's doing is convince.
And I also get a +1 for my deception and persuasion for the duration, which is pretty fucking awesome.
I love these intrigues, even though I'm not
Yeah,
an
they're cool.
intrigue-built character.
Alright, so he's up now.
Just wastes his turn on trying to convince me to put my arrow down. Howler should be able to contribute. Proudly.
Well, when you put it that way. Alright, so he's going to try to influence Glennshire, that is, since he's the primary participant. So that's -2, which is 12 against the intrigue defense for a hit.
11.
Right? That's a hit. The disposition, because you were indifferent, so that'd be 4.
Yeah, so he inflicts no damage. What a bitch.
I guess so, yeah.
As I said, Arthur, I've made it clear that I'm willing to pay you for your service, and you made it seem as though gold was your primary objective in your travels out here. I'm very curious as to whether or not there's an ulterior motive here.
I've already told you I don't know anything. I've told you what I do. I don't know what information you'd be asking me for. This is ridiculous.
A man does not slink through the bushes for absolutely nothing.
A man slinks through the bushes so he can run in to help.
Certainly, it makes sense. However, I still thoroughly believe that you are, in fact, hiding something from me, and anything that you can give us on this situation would be most helpful in service of House Highmount.
That's status again?
11. Jesus Christ, Tom.
Got good status today. I actually put down my arrow and give him a second of relief that he thinks I'm gonna not intimidate him with anymore, but then I just take out my blade, and I take another step forward,
My friend's losing his patience. Imagine how thin my patience is.
and I'll try to persuade him.
No, you fail, so he doesn't get a bonus for his next test.
God damn it. Having a good read on my opponent now, aware that he's trying to convince us to back off, but still quite certain that he's hiding more information, I'm going to convince and influence him to reveal everything that he knows. Having a good read, I have an extra dice, so this is 9d6 minus the 2 lowest. 26.
Good gravy.
So 26, 4 degrees of success.
Influence is my will rank, so 4 times 4 is 16.
So you defeat him in one stroke.
All right, I will step in, seeing that Tom's intimidation is no longer working. He seems rather resolute. Certainly, Arthur, you understand that revealing everything that you know is going to be most beneficial for your situation here. I am proprietor of these lands at this moment, and it's my will that will decide your fate here. It would be an extremely good idea for you to serve me in every way possible by telling me everything that you know.
He sort of caves and he says, "All right, fine. I was here and I saw someone snooping around this damn stable. Thought I could catch the big guy and, I'd be paid well and I'd be servant of House Highmount."
Your decision to do so is quite questionable, I do think, but it does show that you are on the right side in this, Arthur Esmount. Who was it that you saw? What did he look like?
Big man, white armor. I saw him go around to the back of the stable.
Very well,
That's
come with
exactly-
us. Show us exactly where this man went.
He nods to you and he takes the lead.
I'm going around the other way.
I'll nod back to you, Tom. But I'll keep a fairly safe distance back behind Arthur, letting him take heavy point on this one.
Yeah, and I'll switch back to my bow again.
He leads you to the back where there's large bushes and says, "I saw him skulking around here, but I think he might have run off after that." Arthur gestures over and he says, "I see, I found something here," and he points to like a small pile off to the side, covered in burlap. Arthur pulls aside the burlap to reveal a set of white armor, as well as a battle axe and a hunting bow.
See in
What
the
do you-
tree.
You look, no, there's nobody in the tree.
What weapon does Arthur have?
He has a small dagger tucked into his bootleg.
I'll extend my hand towards Arthur. Let me see your dagger, son.
He hands it over.
Does it have a seashell on it?
It has a seashell on it.
I'm gonna turn to Tom. The seashell!
Donald Sutherland is pointing.
Oh, that's my favorite horror movie.
Man, this is really suspicious.
Yeah, shit.
That's less 4, so he's 13.
Not for
Before
sure.
either of you can react, combat begins and he gets a free action. He swoops in and snatches the battle axe from the pile and takes a swing at Howler, who is closest to him.
Shit.
26.
Oh my god. Don't kill my dog.
It's 3 damage times 4 is 12. He takes a mighty swing of his axe and thwacks Howler. Howler gives a loud whimper and goes flying off into the bushes, clearly in distress.
Oh man, Tombstone is enraged.
Right, so now combat begins. Now we'll do agility plus quickness.
2.
Fuck. God damn it, Glennshire.
Jesus, Tom, shit in the bed. Arthur Estermont first, followed by Tom, followed by Glennshire. Arthur, he just casually bends over towards the pile of stuff, slings the quills on his back, and picks up the bow and holsters that as well. And that's his turn.
Alright, I guess he should be kneecapping him for more information, but Tom is noticeably very upset because of his dog, so he tries to center mass shoot him with his bow with Bane.
23. Against his combat defense of 10 is 13. 3 degrees of success. That's 12. He's going to take a wound. The arrow flies into his chest. It hits him Boromir style in the pectoral muscle, and he flinches and winces in pain and sort of falls to one knee, but quickly picks himself back up again and grips his battle axe tightly.
So I'm going to waddle toward him with the knife drawn and attempt to give him a shank right where the wound is for maximum pain.
You don't hit. Reroll initiative.
Alright, doubled up.
So it's 16.
At least Glenshire's closer.
Gripping his battle axe firmly in 2 hands, he takes a swing at Glennshire now, bringing it down full force.
Oh man, Glennshire.
So that's 24. That's 18 in excess of your combat defense. Overall damage, so 16 less 5, it's 11.
Well, I will crumple under his blow and take defeat.
Alright, so his axe strikes firmly. Glennshire instantly crumbles to the ground. He then turns and faces Tombstone.
Alright, so I take aim and I try to shoot.
So 26 on 10, 16, still 4 degrees of success. He takes another wound. The other arrow embeds itself in his chest fairly close to the first. He seems to be in great pain and grievously hurt, but fights on.
Yield!
Justin. White Walker!
That's the story I'll tell the stable hands back at the castle.
No, it was a White Walker, you see.
This is classic
wounds.
Sam.
Glenn the Slayer.
The Slayer, yeah.
Yeah, so he gets a 4.
I believe in you, Tom.
Fucking yes, okay. So exact same thing. Just like Legolas. Arrow after arrow flying in close quarters, like he's like 3 feet away from me.
Jesus, 31, 4 degrees of success, as usual. 4 times 4, 16. He takes another wound. Bleeding heavily and with 3 arrows stuck firmly out of his chest, grunting, sweating, bleeding, he still once more rises to his feet and turns to face Tom.
Meanwhile, as a free action, I yelled, "Engage!" We'll need them to help tend the wounded, regardless if they can show up before the fight's over.
So he moves to be adjacent to Tom and strikes him with his axe, two-handed. So that's -6, so he gets a 10. Base damage 3 + 1, so base damage 4. Reroll for initiative. He can't roll any dice, so by default you go first.
Alright, even though I'm way better with my bow, I need to get my swords out because I have better combat defense if I can get my offhand sword out. So I'm going to drop my bow. It's not going to fall to the ground because it's attached to my bandolier with a little string. But I don't want to waste both my actions on taking out both my bastard sword and my offhand sword, so I guess that'll take me 2 turns.
I put one hand on my sword, and as I draw it, I'm just trying to swing up and cut one of his arms off.
13 on his, yeah, so that's a 10. Exceeds it by 3. Yeah, marginal degree of success. You do 3 damage to him. Alright, so he again, laboriously, takes a swing with his axe at you. 8.
I'll accept that.
Alright, so he hits you.
Yeah?
Yeah.
I don't accept that.
Never mind. Again, since he was two-handed, it's 3 + 1, so 4.
Yeah, even though it would be safer, I guess, to pull out my offhand sword to have a better defense. Hopefully I can actually kill him in this round. I'll just swing my sword twice, hacking at his arm.
10, 15, that's 2 degrees of success. Because it's in excess of 5. 6 damage. The other's a 10, so you win that. No degrees of success. It's a 3, and he takes an injury. He shouts at you, "Yield!" and raises his battle axe. So that's a hit.
Alright, so I guess I'm taking a wound so I don't pass out.
He swings at you, and it's a solid hit, but you manage to shrug it off and continue fighting.
Alright, I'm going to just try to drive my sword through him, but I'm also going to spend one of my lessers, also taking out my short sword. Fuck, and I only got 7. Fuck!
You take a mighty swing with your sword, but you whiz right by him.
Well, this is looking pretty bad.
Well, I got 9 combat defense now, at least. He's gotten 2 8s, so if I did that earlier, I'd be much better off. I yell at the innkeeper again.
Alright, so he's going to line up a shot, pull his axe back slowly, and give it another mighty swing.
Out of respect for House Estermont, I was planning on not murdering this guy.
Well, he's not from Estermont. He's
No, I
Bunting.
don't think he is.
Yeah, I think we may have established that at this point.
So that's off 10, so that's 12.
Holy fuck.
That's another hit. -1 for his injury as well, actually, so it's an 11. It's another hit of 4 damage.
Yeah, I'm gonna take a second wound. Alright, I slash at him a couple times again.
So that's, 12 and a 5. So the 5 isn't a hit, so I won't worry about that one. 12 is in excess of 2, so that's damage 3. He takes another injury. Okay, he's going to kick up a cloud of nearby dirt in an attempt to distract Tom Stone and create an opening in his defenses. That's 2 times 4, difficulty 8. He's going to roll a cunning test. So that does nothing. You see right through his ruse, and he's going to swing at you with his axe again.
He kicks the dirt in my wounds.
12, and then reduce that by 2 to make it 10.
Fuck. So wait, how does that work? I can actually burn a destiny point and then back at full health?
If you burn a destiny point, you could do that.
Okay, so after the brutal impact of the last hit, Tom Stone allows his swords to drop from his hands. He staggers back a couple feet, bracing himself for a final blow, which would surely be his end, but then he catches a glimpse of his injured dog out of the corner of his eye, and this fills his heart with the rage of revenge. He swiftly retrieves his bow, dangling from his bandolier, takes aim, and fires.
Fuck this guy.
Alright, so it's a 16 against his 10, that's 6, 2 degrees of success. So yeah, so you hit him square in the chest with your bow. Utterly exhausted and full of arrows, bleeding, panting, his axe drops from his hand,
Good
and he
God.
collapses to his knees, defeated.
That was fucking gritty.
You pick the consequences of defeat.
Yeah, he's living but maimed.
Yeah, you could totally take his arm, like Jaime Lannister style, you know.
Spoiler alert. Yeah.
Well, for anybody who... I'm sorry, you've read the books, right, Taylor?
Oh, I have, yeah.
Yeah, Justin has.
Oh, right on. Yes, I'm going to cut him. don't get me wrong. Yeah, so if combat's over, I'm going to continuously be screaming for the innkeep. I'm going to put my bow down and take out my knife. I kind of start cutting him, and I say,
For your life, I know you're no Estermont. Tell me, who are you?
and while I tell him, I'm kind of slightly stabbing him a bit with my knife.
He lies on the ground as his blood spills and begins laughing manically. You have no idea. You don't know who I am, do you?
Only that you're no Estermont. The Estermont seal is a turtle, not some bucket clam.
I am Gunnar Pike. I am a bastard of the Crag. You'd be fools to make enemies of us.
No, it was you that was the fool, and such was your end.
And I slit his fucking throat.
Gasping, his last breaths disappear as he chokes on his own blood.
Glennshire is way too heavy for me to carry, so I go up, I pick up my dog, and I kind of am limping to the inn to get help.
As you veer the corner, you see Osney Taverner is slowly hobbling as fastly as he can for a weak old man. I'm sorry, sir. I heard a commotion. Are you all right? Oh, good heavens. What's
Do I look alright? My man beside the sable, save his life and you'll be rewarded.
Of course, sir. Head on inside. My wife will see to you and your dog. He runs off.
I enter the tavern, I put my dog on the table, and do I see his wife?
They both kind of gasp at the sight of you and rush over to see if they can be of any assistance.
Even though I'm really wounded too, I say,
Save my hound's life, or yours are forfeit.
And then I leave her there on the table. I take one last worried look at her before running off to the horses.
The old man appears faint at the sight of the blood, reaching into his pockets to get some fine herbs and holding them under Glenshire's nose, rousing him from his unconscious stupor.
Ugh, what happened?
Upon waking, Glennshire, you immediately see the dead body of the man you knew as Arthur Estermont. In the corner, his throat slit. Clearly this was no accident. You also see Tom.
I'm leading the horses around the corner.
And you see the innkeep.
I'll give Tom a nod when I see him coming around, noting his battle injuries, and of course knowing what he did. And I will reach my hand out to Osney. The booze! Bring me the booze!
Osney nods and seems to think an odd request, but slowly but surely shambles back towards the inn. Returning a moment later with some booze.
In the meantime, I'm looting Arthur for clues, money, and his weapons.
I will pour some alcohol on my wounds and take a swig. A little bit more alcohol on the wounds. Another swig.
The old guy is currently going to see if he can assist with your injuries in any way. No, he doesn't know precisely what the damage is. He says, well, it looks like you've been hit, sir, but I don't think it to be too bad. I'm sorry, I don't know much about these sort of things. Is there anyone you'd like me to send for?
Do you have a wagon?
There should be one off to the back. Yes, I could grant it to you so long as I'm sure you'd return it.
Of course you'll have your wagon back and more, and send a rider out to the castle. They can rouse the maester. He can meet us on the road. Put Glennshire and my dog in the back, and you make sure you keep that hound alive.
Of course, sir, but there's no one I know of that could ride. Could send the girl, I suppose, but this late at night on her own, I'd be hesitant to.
Alright, so I've packed up all this guy's weapons and armor and belongings into my bedroll, my backpack, the saddlebags, and my palfrey. I wince in pain as I climb up onto the saddle and I just say,
Bugger it, all ride!
and then I kick my horse and gallop off into the dark.
Good man.
He nods and he turns back to Glennshire and says, "My lord, is there anything else I could do for you?"
Help me into the wagon and put this body in with me.
Alright, so he, as best as he can, he enlists the help of his wife and a terrified 16-year-old girl. Alright,
Cool.
so Tom, do you make it there in about 25-30 minutes, going at a fast pace? Your horse is exhausted and eagerly gets a drink, but you manage to rouse the maester and alert him to what's up.
Awesome. And in the meantime, has the maester stopped my bleeding and whatnot?
So I'd say there's nothing he can do right now, they're too fresh, but he does bandage them and sort of treat them with some fire milk in an attempt to combat any infection that might happen, and orders you to some bed rest.
Alright, I disregard his orders to make sure that my dog gets some priority.
About a half hour later, the cart arrives, driven by Osney, loaded up with the body, his wife, and the dog. Poor Howler. Upon the arrival of the cart, the maester immediately rushes over. "Master Heavypockets, is everything all right?"
It most certainly is not. Quickly, tend to my wound.
"Of course, sir. You've taken a nasty hit, sir. Luckily, it appears to be mostly with the flat of the blade. Little bit of swelling, but nothing too serious. I'm sure you'll recover in no time."
Excellent. I will take another swig of the bottle, hoping to near as drunk as possible.
Alright, you guzzle away until you're happily seeing stars.
Alright, I take the dagger and show it to the maester.
This man was from Pike. Do you know what house this shell was from?
Yes, he says, the scallop. Yes, sigil of House Crag, I believe. Minor house, but known quite well in the Iron Islands and in the Westerlands.
Any idea what the hell he's doing here?
Based on the armor and the size of him, as well as his dagger and his ties to House Crag, I'd say this must be the Red Bastard, Gunner Crag. Called red for the color of his armor. That is, of course, his armor is only white when he enters battle. You were lucky to survive.
I'll say, truly, that was good work, Tom.
He's lucky that I didn't do worse. We were in too much of a rush. I could have stretched the pain out. For Howler, for what he did to those girls.
Maester Gregory, I can't see to this matter myself, as I must recover from my wounds, but see to it that a contingent of House Highmount guards are sent to escort this Osney taverner back and investigate the premises for any further intruders on our land.
Of course, sir.
I will slip a gold dragon to Osney taverner and shake his hand. I hope you understand, Osney, that this now places you under the direct protection of House Highmount.
Of course, sir. Happy to have it.
Certainly, you did allow this dangerous man to be on our territory, and it is essential that House Highmount takes care of these issues. I will return in the coming days when I have recovered to negotiate this protection.
He nods and sets off on his way. With the hubbub gone, he now turns his attention solely towards Howler, the last remaining injury. So, in an attempt to diagnose, he successfully determines that he's taken a nasty hit. Howler's ear has been completely severed. One stands erect, however, one has been lopped in half. Blood soaks his fur, mats it down. "I'll do the best I can for your hounds, sir. But no promises. My specialty is treating the ailments of humans, after all."
You better, Earl. Just do the best you can, please. She's all Just, please.
He's gonna see if he can treat her injury. He just meets it. He says, "I should just be able to have her pull through, sir. I can't save the ear, but she'll be alright."
She's good enough at hearing. She can get by with just one. With the scar right down her face, she's gonna look a lot more like me.
Yeah, so Tom Stone returns to the kennel as wounded. So I check on Howler and give her a pet, and then I take out an ink and a pen, and I write the details onto a note that House Crag has entered the lands of the Erie for some unknown reason. I write down Gunner Pike, the Red, attacked House Highmount, and I request any information known, and then say that I will continue to update on the situation. And I roll up the scroll and I attach it to my raven Moore, and my raven says, "More, more!" And I use my Master of Ravens to send the raven out to some mysterious secret contact.
You send the raven off on its way, bearing your message.
Yeah, so I pack myself a bowl of pipeweed as I watch my black raven very quickly disappear into the night. I return to my cabin that's attached to the kennels and approach Howler, who's resting on the foot of my bed. I comfort her by scratching her remaining ear and say,
Don't worry, girl. Just rest, and know that I won't rest until every Crag is dead.
And that's the story of how Tom and Glenn solved the mystery of who brutally slaughtered the horse.